And it's another weekend. Welcome to Week in Review on Trust Television, where we take a look at some of the top stories you might have missed during the week. In case you missed it, here is an opportunity for you to catch up. My name is Martia Umar. Thank you for joining. So we'll begin with the story that occurred on Monday during the week, where the Supreme Court finally recognized the Senate President Ahmed Lawan as the authentic candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for Yobe North Senatorial District. And the Apex Court decision sacks Bashir Machina, who was earlier recognized by the Federal High Court in Damaturu, as well as the Court of Appeal in Abuja. The report. After the first sitting to deliberate and pass on the judgment, uncertainty reigned supreme as parties waited for the final pronouncement. After an hour of waiting, the court resumed sitting, and then Justice Santos Nweze, who read the lead judgment, held that the decisions of the Federal High Court in Yobe and the Court of Appeal in Abuja were perverse and must be set aside. Justice Santos Nweze faulted the approach of Bashir Machina in commencing the suit at the Federal High Court Damaturu Division through originating summons and without oral evidence to prove allegations of fraud. Outside the court, there were mixed feelings. None of the counsels in court felt the need to talk to media. However, some persons present in court broke the silence.
Alhamdulillah that today we are here at the Supreme Court having concluded the judgment between Ahmed Lawan and Bashir Machina. We are very happy that the judgment favored the Senate President, that by God's grace has now finally been delivered as the winner in this court. And by God's grace, we are gleefully going back to our Zansi, our constituency, to deliver him as the most successful candidate by 2023 elections.
Today we are very happy and satisfaction over the Lava victory. We are describing it as a political journey. This is a sign of rule of law. Thank you very much. We are very happy for that.
The aggrieved parties reserved comment as disappointment was written all over their face. The Supreme Court's decision puts to rest a legal battle that followed the ruling party's senatorial primary in Yobe North Senatorial District. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja. And meanwhile, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan described the Supreme Court judgment that affirmed him as the APC candidate for Yobe North Senatorial District as democracy at work. The Senate President, who also commended the Apex Court, noted that he never approached the court to seek redress, adding that it was rather his party and other well-wishers that made it happen. Justice Santos Nweze, who earlier read the lead judgment, held that the decisions of the Federal High Court in Yobe and the Court of Appeal in Abuja were perverse and must be set aside. Justice Nweze faulted the approach of Bashir Machina in commencing the suit at the Federal High Court Damaturu Division through originating summons and without oral evidence to prove allegations of fraud.
What happened was democracy at work, and the courts gave their various judgments, and of course the Supreme Court gave the final judgment. I want at this point to commend the Supreme Court and in fact the judiciary generally for making this kind of judgment to strengthen our democracy, because it's not only for politicians to work and strengthen democracy, it's for all of us, and all the institutions have some roles to play. So I commend the Supreme Court and the judiciary in general.
And still talking about the Supreme Court of Nigeria, during the week, the Supreme Court restrained the federal government from implementing the February 10 deadline of the old 200 naira, 500 naira and 1,000 naira note to stop being legal tender. Three northern states, Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara, had in a motion expertise filed on February 3rd prayed the Apex Court to halt the Central Bank of Nigeria redesigned policy. A 7-man panel of the Supreme Court, led by Justice John Okoro, in a unanimous ruling granted an interim injunction restraining the federal government, Central Bank of Nigeria and commercial banks from implementing the February 10 deadline for the old 200 naira, 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes to stop being legal tender. The court further held that the federal government, CBN, commercial banks must not continue with the deadline pending the determination of a notice on notice in respect to the issue of February 15. The old naira notes continue to be legal tenders in Nigeria pending final determination of the suit. And meanwhile, point-of-sale operators in Abuja have expressed mixed reactions to the Supreme Court ruling suspending the February 10th deadline date for old naira notes. Noel Samson was out there and he filed in this report.
Most operators are taking advantage of the naira scarcity to increase their charges as people struggle to get money before expiration of deadline for the old naira. But the Supreme Court ruling on Wednesday restraining the CBN and commercial banks on the old naira deadline has changed all that.
I'm in support of it so that the new naira note will go around so that everybody will have it. Then the situation, the how things people are angry and everything will now calm down. So I'm in support of extending the time.
Some of the POS operators are not happy with the court ruling, saying the February 10th deadline should not be shifted.
In my own idea, it's not a good idea because it is supposed to have a definite date. With that, Nigerians can plan towards that date. Now that they have shifted it indefinitely, now it makes Nigeria to go through more suffering. Because that old naira, we have hope that in the next few days now, old naira will go off. Now we will be using the new one. That if you go to the bank, at least you can get new one. Now, if you go to the bank, you cannot get old one. New one is not there. So now cancelling it is not good for us. It's not good for the whole Nigerians.
So I think they shouldn't cancel that deadline they give. Like me, even in the first place, because why people are holding the new currency is because of the fact that the old currency is still in the market. If the old currency is not in the market, I think the new currency should be in circulation.
The old naira will now remain legal tender pending final determination of the suit before the Supreme Court. It may take some time, but it's a huge relief for many. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has appealed against the judgment of Justice T.A. Kume-led Election Petition Tribunal in Osun State on 44 grounds. INEC filed the petition at the Court of Appeal in Akure through its lawyer, Paul Ananaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, during the week. And the electoral body said that the Election Petition Tribunal erred in law by failing to consider and rule on the various preliminary objections filed by the first respondent, challenging the competency of the petition and jurisdiction of the Election Petition Tribunal to hear the petition. The petitioners, Oyetola and APC, who faulted the declaration of Adeleke as the winner of the July 16th governorship election in the state, premised that their petition on Adeleke's eligibility to contest and overvoting. The tribunal on 27th January 2023 declared Oyetola as the valid elected governor of the state after deducting the disputed votes challenged by the petitioners. But INEC, in its appeal, said that the tribunal totally misconstrued Section 47, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act of 2022, which must be read to arrive at the true intention of the legislature and justice. INEC sought an order of the appeal court to set aside the whole decision of the trial tribunal and dismiss or strike out the petition for want of competence and jurisdiction. The newly elected president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, and all the executive members of the Congress have been sworn in during the week. They were sworn in at the ongoing 13th NLC National Delegates Conference by human rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. Ajero said that the Congress will, during his tenure, wake up the fight on all anti-masses policy with full force. He also warned politicians to play their games according to the rules, saying that they would not hesitate to take necessary action if any politician tries to manipulate workers. The Labour leader also warned the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to make itself neutral during the election to avoid facing the wrath of Nigerian workers. And you're watching Week in Review on Trust TV. More stories to come after this break. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
You're welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching Week in Review. And moving on to more reviews, the National Universities Commission, NUC, has ordered the closure of universities across the country to enable students to participate in the February 25 and March 11 general elections. In a later address to Vice Chancellors of all universities and directors of inter-university centres, the NUC noted that the directive is based on the instruction of the Minister of Education, Adamu Adamu. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had in January presented a register containing 93,469,008 voters for the 2023 general elections. Of the total registered voters, the total number of young people between the ages of 18 and 34 stood at 37,060,399, representing 39.65% of the total registered voters, while the elderly between the ages of 50 and 69 stood at 17,700,270, representing 18.94% of the total registered voters. And the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has given assurances that the 2023 general elections will hold as scheduled. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, gave the guarantee on Wednesday after briefing the Federal Executive Council at State House Abuja. Kendi Amodu has more details.
The INEC chairman is briefing the cabinet as part of routine updates on its preparedness to conduct the elections. There are two key challenges before the electoral umpire. The first being the availability of petroleum products during the period leading up to, during, and after the polls.
We had a meeting with the National Union of Road Transport Workers, and they raised that as an issue of concern. Immediately after that meeting, we interfaced with the leadership of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. And right now, there's a technical committee working. The idea is for them to avail us the use of their over 900 land mega stations as well as floating mega stations nationwide for the purpose of stocking products to ensure that the commission doesn't suffer any encumbrances in movement of personnel and materials for the election.
The second is the currency redesign policy and its effect on the availability of funds.
We had an engagement yesterday with the governor of the central bank, and he assured us that the commission will not suffer any encumbrances on that score. Fortunately for us, all our accounts, national and state, are held by the Apex Bank. So we raised those challenges, but we have found a solution to those challenges. So be rest assured that the election will hold as scheduled on the 25th of February for national and on the 11th of March for the state election.
The INEC chairman is confident that these obstacles would be neutralized before the elections, but has no doubt about the Commission's capacity to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
Determined to demonstrate that the 2023 general elections will hold as scheduled, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the establishment of a Presidential Transition Council. The Transition Council will facilitate and manage the 2023 transition program. The committee will be made up of members of the Cabinet, 13 permanent secretaries, members of the National Security Council, Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court, and 2 representatives to be nominated by the President-elect. To give legal backing to the Council, the President has signed Executive Order 14 of the 2023 on the facilitation and management of the presidential transitions. A key feature of the Presidential Executive Order number 14 is the institutionalization of a legal framework that will enable a seamless transition of power from one presidential administration to another. And members of Fali community in Mobi North local government area, where some political thugs attacked the convoy of Adamawa State First Lady, are suspecting a serving senator of being the mastermind behind the attack. According to Fali community leader Thaddeus Fada, preliminary investigation conducted that led to the arrest of one Lot Bitrus, a gang leader of the thugs, who is believed to be a staunch supporter of the senator, is clear evidence to their claim. Salis Lawan has the report.
The Fali community leaders, alongside some key stakeholders of the area, comprising members of various political parties, have condemned the action, describing the perpetrators as a group of misguided youth headed by some politicians desperate in power. The community members further distanced themselves from the attack against the First Lady's convoy, including the press crew.
We deem it fit to address you today on the danger that this dastardly act portends for us all and our future if the government, security agencies, and good men of conscience left this criminality unpunished. First, as a people and a nation, we unequivocally condemn this unfathomably and reprehensible attitude and action by this group of reprobates in Fali land. We are known to be peaceful, urbane, and law-abiding people, and we have equally been known to be responsible in parenting our children. But unfortunately, this peculiar set of young men in our midst chose to throw away this noble upbringing we have inculcated in our children from time immemorial in the name of politics, quest for relevance, and desperation for success.
The community members say are known to be peaceful, urbane, and law-abiding, therefore rejecting the heinous act of the youth.
We are not saying that what we're talking about is identifying the leading person, the person that instigated. With the number of the boys, they are not known. Maybe 1 or 2, I don't know yet. But something has to be done so that the number of these people should be identified and brought to book. That's the meaning. So it's not as who is the leader, we know, and why are we calling for investigation? Because the actual people that performed this dastardly act were the youths, were the young people, whose identity have not been identified for now.
The incident reportedly occurred on Saturday when the convoy was returning from a church program. The First Lady was said to have been invited to attend in Muchila, Mobi North local government area of the state. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC Gombe State Command, has arrested a 40-year-old man, Usman Muhammad, over allegedly abusing 12 children sexually. Parading the suspect during the week, the Gombe NSCDC Commandant Waziri Babagoni said that the suspect has been exploiting the victims and having sexual intercourse with them. Ibrahim Ismail completes the story.
This is 40-year-old Usman Muhammad, a Gombe-based nail cutter suspected to have sexually abused 12 underage boys in Gombe. One of the 12 children is at large. Parading the suspect, the Commandant, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Gombe Command, Waziri Babagoni, said investigation revealed that the suspect engages in homosexuality for money-making purposes.
So we are calling on the public, please, so that they have to say, because it's mandatory for them to take care of their children. Not that the security agencies will be every day doing this thing. So they should have to report. Thank God that the other guy was being even apprehended by the public. You see, the guy that has homosexual with 12 youths. You see, 9 years, 10 years, 6 years plus, for several times. And now they have started among themselves doing it. So this, how far he now started spoiling the culture and then the ritual ethics of this place.
The suspected homosexual who confessed to the crime claimed to have learned the act from his Islamic scholar in Kano State. We used to do the sodomy secretly, but yesterday in the morning I met this boy. I was going to my nail cutting business while he was going to school. We entered into an uncompleted building, but before we started the sodomy, some youth came and disrupted our plans. One of the victims is Abdul Karim Abubakar. He narrates his ordeal. The man has a shop in our neighborhood. He once asked me to join him for a sodomy in his shop. I threatened to tell my mother. He pleaded that we should do it once. I then kept quiet. He then approached me for the second time. Parents and relatives of the abused children are demanding the execution of the suspect. I felt very sad. This is very bad and beyond imagination. We can do nothing but prayers. We want this man to be executed. We don't want to see him alive anymore. He should be killed to avoid more exploitation of children. Beyond arresting the suspect, the NSCDC is counseling the underage victims to discourage them from further engagements in homosexuality, while the suspect will be charged to court. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
And with that, we have come to the end of Weekend Review for this week. For more reviews, connect with us on all our social media platforms and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.